In the complex history of post-war Italy, few stories are as dark or as strange as that of Propaganda Due, or P2. This organization was not merely a club or a society. It became known as an illegal secret group, a hidden center of power with deep and disturbing connections to organized crime, political corruption, and national scandals. P2 operated in the shadows of the Republic, weaving a web of influence that touched the highest levels of Italian society. Its name became a byword for conspiracy, evoking a sense of a hidden government pulling strings behind the scenes. The very existence of P2 challenged the foundations of Italy's democratic institutions and left a permanent scar on the nation's trust in its leaders. The reputation of P2 is built on the immense power it secretly accumulated over the years. It was much more than a simple secret society. It was a meticulously constructed network designed to control and manipulate the state from within. Its members were not ordinary citizens, but powerful individuals who occupied strategic positions across the country. By recruiting key figures from the military, politics, the judiciary, and high finance, P2 sought to create a parallel power structure, one that was loyal only to its own agenda. This clandestine assembly became, in effect, a state within a state, a shadow government operating outside the law and beyond public scrutiny, pursuing goals that often ran counter to the interests of the Italian people. The discovery of P2's activities sent shockwaves through Italy, revealing a level of systemic corruption that many had long suspected but could never prove. The lodge was implicated in some of the most notorious events of the era, from financial fraud on a global scale to acts of political violence and mysterious deaths that remain unsolved to this day. Its story is a chilling reminder of how easily democratic processes can be undermined when secrecy and power are allowed to intertwine. P2 was not just a historical anomaly. It represented a fundamental crisis of governance, exposing the vulnerabilities within the Italian state and raising profound questions about who truly held power in the country during those turbulent decades. The tale of P2 is a cautionary one, illustrating the dangers of unchecked power and the corrosive effect of secrecy on a democratic society. It is the story of a conspiracy so vast and so deeply embedded that it nearly succeeded in rewriting the rules of Italian politics. The lodge's influence was so pervasive that its full impact is still debated and analyzed by historians and journalists. Understanding P2 is essential to understanding a critical period in modern Italian history, a time when the line between the state and the criminal underworld became dangerously blurred, leaving behind a legacy of suspicion and mistrust that lingers even now, on this day in 2025. Propaganda Due did not begin its life as a sinister conspiracy. Its origins were far more conventional, starting as a legitimate Masonic lodge chartered by the Grand Orient of Italy, the country's main Masonic authority. In its early days, it functioned like any other lodge, a fraternity for members to meet and engage in the rituals and fellowship of Freemasonry. However, its path took a dramatic and illegal turn in the late 1960s and early 1970s. The Grand Orient suspended its charter due to irregularities, officially severing its ties with the formal Masonic structure. It was at this critical juncture that the lodge fell under the control of a man who would transform it into his personal instrument of power. The architect of P2's transformation was Licio Gelli, a charismatic and deeply controversial figure with a dark past. Gelli was a committed fascist who had fought for Franco in the Spanish Civil War, and later acted as a liaison officer between Mussolini's government and Nazi Germany. After the war, he reinvented himself, eventually joining the Freemasons and rising through their ranks. By 1970, he had taken command of the now suspended P2 Lodge. Under his leadership, it was reborn as a clandestine or secret organization, operating completely outside the bounds of Masonic law and Italian state law. Gelli's vision was not for a simple fraternal order, but for a covert network of elites loyal to him. Gelli's strategy was to recruit a very specific type of member, individuals who held significant power and influence. He systematically built a roster that read like a who's who of the Italian establishment. His list included government ministers, dozens of members of parliament, high-ranking generals from the army and air force, the heads of Italy's secret services, prominent bankers, influential journalists, and key industrialists, creating a powerful coalition that spanned every major sector of society. Even Silvio Berlusconi, who would later become Prime Minister of Italy multiple times, was found on the P2 membership roll. a connection that would follow him throughout his political career. This meticulously assembled network gave P2 an unparalleled reach and influence, with members in the highest echelons of government, the military, and the media. The lodge could shape political events, manipulate financial markets, and control the public narrative. Gelli's P2 was no longer a Masonic lodge in any meaningful sense. It had become his private army, a shadow cabinet ready to execute his plans. This state within a state was designed to protect its members, advance their interests, and pursue a right-wing anti-communist political agenda, all while remaining completely hidden from the public eye. Its secrecy was its greatest weapon, allowing it to operate with impunity for over a decade. The true nature of P2 was revealed through its connection to a series of devastating scandals that shook Italy to its core. One of the most significant was the collapse of Banco Ambrosiano in 1982, one of Italy's largest private banks. The bank's chairman, Roberto Calvi, was a key member of P2 and was often called God's banker because of his close ties to the Vatican Bank, which was a major shareholder. Calvi had used the bank to funnel hundreds of millions of dollars into shell companies, many of which were linked to P2 activities. When the bank finally collapsed under a mountain of debt, it exposed a massive fraud scheme that implicated the Vatican, the Mafia, and Gelli's secret lodge. The Banco Ambrosiano affair quickly descended into a story of intrigue and death. Just before the full extent of the collapse became public, Roberto Calvi fled Italy on a false passport. A few days later, his body was discovered hanging from scaffolding beneath Blackfriars Bridge in London, his pockets filled with stones and thousands of dollars in cash. Initially ruled a suicide, forensic investigations later pointed to murder, a verdict confirmed by Italian courts. His death was widely seen as a message, a silencing of a man who knew too much about the illicit financial dealings of P2 and its powerful allies. Calvi's death remains one of Italy's most enduring mysteries, a symbol of the lethal consequences of crossing the secret powers at play. P2's influence extended beyond financial crimes into the realm of political violence and terrorism. Licio Gelli was convicted of obstructing the investigation into the 1980 Bologna train station bombing, a horrific terrorist attack that killed 85 people and injured over 200. The bombing was part of Italy's strategy of tension, a period marked by right-wing and left-wing violence intended to destabilize the country and provoke an authoritarian response. While P2 was not accused of carrying out the bombing directly, its efforts to misdirect the investigation suggested a desire to protect the perpetrators and sow further chaos, aligning with its anti-democratic goals. The lodge was also implicated, though never definitively proven, in other major political crises. Suspicions arose about its role in hindering efforts to rescue former Prime Minister Aldo Moro, who was kidnapped and murdered by the Red Brigades, a left-wing terrorist group, in 1978. Some have theorized that powerful figures within the state, some linked to P2, wanted Moro eliminated because his political strategy of compromise with the Italian Communist Party threatened their interests. These scandals painted a horrifying picture of P2 as a corrupting force at the heart of the Italian state, willing to engage in fraud, obstruction of justice, and potentially even murder to achieve its aims. The secret world of P2 came crashing down in March 1981. During an investigation into Roberto Calvi's financial dealings, magistrates ordered a search of Licio Gelli's villa in Arezzo, Tuscany. Tucked away in a hidden suitcase, they found the documents that would blow the lid off the conspiracy, the membership list of the P2 Lodge. The list contained the names of 962 people, a shocking roll call of Italy's elite. It included 3 cabinet ministers, 2 intelligence agency chiefs, 44 members of parliament, and senior figures from every branch of the military, police, and judiciary. The discovery was a bombshell, providing concrete proof of the shadow network that had long been rumored to exist. The revelation of the P2 list triggered an immediate and severe political crisis. The government of Prime Minister Arnaldo Forlani was forced to resign, unable to withstand the public outrage and the implications of having ministers and top officials involved in a secret illegal society. A special parliamentary commission was established to investigate the lodge and its activities. In 1982, the Italian parliament passed a special law that formally declared P2 a secret and subversive organization and officially banned it. The scandal laid bare the fragility of Italy's democratic institutions and exposed the deep-seated rot that had spread to the highest levels of power. In the years that followed, Licio Gelli became a fugitive, but was eventually arrested and faced multiple trials. He was sentenced to prison for the Banco Ambrosiano fraud, for obstructing the Bologna bombing investigation, and for other crimes. However, many of the deeper questions about P2's full range of activities were never fully answered. The Parliamentary Commission concluded that P2 had sought to undermine Italy's constitutional order and had interfered in nearly every major national event of the previous decade. Yet the full extent of its international connections and the precise nature of its conspiracies remained shrouded in mystery, leaving many to believe that the official story was only a fraction of the truth. The legacy of P2 is one of profound and lasting damage to public trust in Italy. The scandal solidified the widespread belief in a deep state, a hidden network of unaccountable elites controlling the country from behind the scenes. It fueled a deep cynicism toward politicians and state institutions that persists to this day. Even now, decades after its exposure, the story of P2 serves as a dark chapter in Italian history, a warning about the persistent struggle between democracy and the secret powers that seek to subvert it. The full truth of P2 may never be known, but its shadow continues to loom large over the Italian Republic.